Hey you guys, how you doing? It's Darren here from fishandmoney.com, and I'm here today because I want to answer a question. One of the questions that we've had in the past is, of course I don't have it, how long will minnows last in a bag? And I'm going to put this video up on my page, on my blog page here, but I wanted to get on here and answer that question a little bit with a story that I have. So we went out fishing this last weekend, about 4 or 5 days ago, and we were fishing for smallmouth bass. And the bass, now it's springtime here, and the bass are coming up in the shallows now, and they're on nests. So we decided we wanted to use some live bait and try to catch some bass, and also some striped bass, which are a little bit out deeper. So we went and got some live bait from Richard Wiggler's Bait Company, which is here in Las Vegas. If you're watching this from Las Vegas, I highly recommend Mike is his name, over at Richard Wiggler's Bait Company. You can look them up online, and usually I'll have a link on my YouTube channel as well for them. So anyway, we went and got some live bait from him. We got minnows and golden shiners from him. And it's starting to get warm now, so the concern was, how are we going to keep those things alive? And Mike set us up with a bucket and an aerator, and what we did was, which was fine, as long as we kept them cool and kept the air going on the fish, we were all set up. We have Richard Wiggler's membership plan, so you can look that up on their website and find out how their membership plan works. But we got a bucket with an aerator with that, and we took them out. So one of the things that happened was the aerator was on there fine, and so the fish were in good shape, but it started getting warm, and I was concerned that the fish were going to have a hard time with the water being warmer. But luckily we had an ice chest with some ice in it. So what we did was we just took some ice, a few cubes of ice, handful of ice, and put it in the bucket, and that cooled off the water. And boy, those fish were, the rest of the next hour or two, they were just swimming around like crazy. And then when the ice melted and the water started getting a little warm again, and looked a little warm in that bucket, then we just take another handful of ice and drop it in the bucket, and boy, they were back at it. So there's two things that you need to keep your fish alive, to keep your minnows alive in a bag. One of the things that you need is oxygen. If you buy minnows from a store, say from a pet store, usually the pet store will put some oxygen in the bag with an air hose, and they'll seal that bag, and that's probably going to last you a couple of hours like that. Because the oxygen that's in the bag will help the minnows to breathe in that water. But you can't leave them in there very long. Like after a couple hours, you're taking your chances whether they're gonna die. So you're gonna need an aerator to keep air in the water. And you can get portable aerators too if you're concerned about keeping minnows long, if you have a long drive home or something like that. But those are the two things you need. You need air, and you need cool water. If it gets too hot, they don't like that either. In fact, at one point when we drove home, it was about an 1.5-hour drive, and by the time we got home, the water was, it was starting to get a little bit warm, and the fish were looking a little lethargic. But again, we put a handful of ice in there, and they came right back really quick. And so when we got home, we had a 55-gallon drum already set up in the backyard with a couple goldfish in it, and it was already set up with a couple of filters, hanging off the side, and that also helps to aerate the water because the water splashes down and makes bubbles. And plus we have an aerator on that. But that's a perfect little home for them. It's in our backyard, on the patio, on the back concrete porch. And it's under a canopy, so it never sees the sun. It's always in the shade. But as the summer wears on here in Las Vegas, it gets really hot, and we're gonna have to do something to keep those minnows cooler, because I don't think they'll make it through the summer with how warm that water will get if we don't do something about it. So we're looking into doing something about that. But for now, everything's working fine. We're still in the early spring, so it's not too hot yet. And that's how we kept our minnows alive. So if you're wondering how to keep minnows alive on the way home, in a bag, in a bucket, on a fishing trip, just keep in mind those two things. Keep them cool and keep air in the water. Usually an air stone is the best way. And if you keep them for a very long time, like days and weeks, you're going to have to filter that water too, because otherwise they could suffocate in their own water from the nitrates and nitrites in there. So, or you can change the water like you would in a goldfish bowl every once in a while. That's about it. I hope you enjoyed this little story from Fishing Money. Hope you enjoyed a little story about our last week's fishing trip. And it's good to meet you on here. You're welcome to come to YouTube and look us up, Fishing Money YouTube channel. We'd love to have you over there. We're gonna start doing these now, gators. My mom made us these gators, and I used this one this weekend. Still need to wash it, but it's not too bad. But anyway, these gators, they'll keep the sun off you. They'll keep the heat off you. I started getting a little warm. I dunked this in the lake, got it nice and soaking wet, wringed it out, put it back on my head, all the way around my face. And it acted like an air conditioner. The little bit of breeze we had blowing through it actually made me, back of my neck was really cool. So you need one of these gators. We're selling them for $5 and $5 shipping. So $10 straight up will get you one of our, it's just straight blue gator. There's nothing on it. It's some really stretchy material, one size fits all, and it's sewn together on the inside. My mom sewed them for us. And so we're selling handmade gators at Fishing Money. And if you want one, let me know in the comments or through my blog. I have an email address on there. Either way, you can get a hold of me, and we'll be glad to get you one of our Fishing Money gators. Appreciate it, you guys. Hope you enjoyed this, and we'll catch you on the next one.